Islam.
All right, so what I wanted to get into tonight was a little bit of what I wanted to get into was the significance of our forefather Abraham and the relation to um the our doctrine, um the Holy Quran of Mecca or Muhammad, and the Holy Bible, particularly the Torah. So in our 101s, and the reason why I'm going over this is because our brothers seem to have it confused in what it means to be a Muslim, right? And what Islam is, right? Muhammad did not create Islam. He brought that creed to the Arabs, who at that time didn't have, they were pagans, polytheists, when they was worshiping stones. Sort of like what they've done now to the Islamic creed that Muhammad brought them. Now they pray towards a stone. They go to do Hajj to touch and kiss the stone. And they really believe that Muhammad is tradition to them. When the Quran, it says that it is against Allah, making any dead stones, right? But they believe because they follow Hadith, right? They follow people like Bukhari, Tirmidhi, uh, uh, who else? Sahih Muslim. They follow. That's who they follow. They don't follow Muhammad. They don't follow, the Quran. They don't follow. I'm gonna show you what religion Muhammad is really supposed to be following. What religion he was told to follow, and in accordance to the Quran. So, in our doctrine, because I always like to start with ours as a foundation, right? We learn in our 101s, right? What is our religion? Islamism, right? We know Islam is peace, and ism is a suffix that means the act or practice thereof, right? Because Islam in and of itself is just our faith. It's not our religion. It's our faith. Islamism is right. Is that a new or is that an old time religion? Old time religion, right? So what does that mean? It's an old time religion, right? Old time religion ties into this genealogy, right? Through which Jesus came. Notice that the first name is Abraham, right? We're gonna do one of these days, we're gonna do a breakdown of all of the forefathers: Abraham, Boaz, Baruch, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, right? And Joseph. We'll, we'll, we'll do the one to that. But we want to focus on Abraham. Why? Because when we come to the Quran, right? Surah 2, ayah 135, this is just one of them, right? It says, and they say, be Jews or be Christians, right? This is Allah talking to Muhammad, right? So let's go one ayah. It says, now those people who have passed away, unto them shall be accounted what they have earned, and unto you what you have earned, be judged on the strength of what they did. It says, and they say, be Jews or Christians, and you shall be on the right path. Nay, it says say, nay, but ours is what? The creed of Abraham, who turned away from all that is false, meaning he turned towards the truth. We know that truth is aught is Allah, and was not of those who ascribe divinity to aught beside Allah. So again, Muhammad told to say that his religion or his way. He's not a Jew nor Christian, right? He said that we follow the creed of Abraham, the religion of Abraham, right? Let's see. Surah 16, verse 123. It says, so these are just different renditions, right? But it say, then we reveal to you, O Muhammad, to follow the religion of Abraham, inclining towards truth, and he was not of those who associate with Allah. So again, Muhammad was told to follow the religion of Abraham. So Muhammad was not a Sunni, he wasn't a Shia, he wasn't a Salafi, he wasn't a Hanafi, he wasn't a uh uh uh, Ashari, he wasn't a Sufi. He was one who submitted to the to Allah, a Muslim, which they say is a Muslim too. But again, Allah is being specific in saying that Muhammad is to follow the religion of Abraham. This is why in our 101s, we get the demonstration or we learn that our religion is Islamism, and this is the old time religion. Now, I'm not even gonna get into Canaanite creed, right? Specifically though, because you got to understand, amongst all people, there was religions, but amongst all those people that may have even been polytheists, because the Canaanites was polytheists, right? The Moabites was polytheists, right? Even the Israelites at times was polytheists, but there was always a person amongst these people. And the Israelites, they called them prophets. In the Canaanite creed, from where Abraham got the creed from, we talk about Melchizedek, right? This is the priestly line from which Jesus come from. Jesus descend from the same Canaanite priestly line. So this is the connection between the Israelite or the tribe of Judah and the Judite, the line from which Jesus comes from the house of David, and the connection back to the old time religion that was given to these people by these Canaanites, specifically Melchizedek, who was basically the Abraham of his people. He was basically the Moses of his people, who followed a tradition that had no beginning or ending, right? So Melchizedek is basically a trustee from the beginning of time, when man was entrusted in the garden with the ways of Allah. And it was passed down through Adam, right? And then Noah, right? Canaan, right? Cain, right? Because Cain had a son named Canaan too, right? And then the flood happened, whatever. But then Noah picks up, and then this line this tradition is passed down until Abraham goes back to the land of Canaan and picks up the tradition, right? So again, but I'm not again. I'm not even gonna deal. We're not even gonna deal with that religion, the actual religion, right? Because now we're dealing with El Elyon, right? We're dealing with that whole theology, which is very important to understand. Um, but this right here just dealing with specifically his connection to us as Moabites, right? Abraham and the connection to us as Moabites, and why we practice the old time religion and we follow Muhammad or honor Muhammad in the Holy Quran of Mecca, or really the Holy Quran of Medina, right? That's a whole nother conversation with the whole Mecca Medina um issue. But we honor this by doing the following. And this is where it connects back to us. So these are just some surahs that hit on Muhammad being commanded to follow the religion of Abraham. Right. So now this is Surah 3, Ayat 95. It says, say, O prophet, Allah has declared the truth. So follow the way of Abraham, the upright, who was not a polytheist. Again, follow the way of, the way of Abraham, Ibrahim, right? So now let's get into the Bible, where why Abraham is so important to us as Moorish Americans, being descendants of the ancient Moabites. Because let me ask a question for the floor. Who is the father of the Moabites? And what's his relation to Abraham? Islam, brother Jawan.
Islam. So part of being in LA, but would it be Lot?
Yep.
And
And
that would be, is that one of Abraham? Is his Abraham's uncle or brother? Brother?
it's his brother's son. So
Brother. So
Lot,
okay,
Abraham nephew.
okay, Islam. Appreciate that.
So, yes, sir. So again, as Moabites, we trace our biblical lineage through Lot, right? Lot was the nephew of Abraham, who traveled with him from the land of Ur in the Chaldees to the land of Canaan, right? And picked up this creed with him, right? So imagine that. So if you think in the terms of Muhammad, Lot was basically his first companion or Sahaba, and there's a connection and relation in between Abraham and Lot and Muhammad and Ali, right? Ali was Muhammad's cousin and became his son-in-law, right? Now, I'm not saying that this is something that I could prove or anything like that, but I'm inclined to kind of believe a little bit, maybe, and again, I can be wrong, that Lot's, either of Lot's wives, both of them, or excuse me, either his wives, because I'm not sure exactly how many wives he had. I think he had one wife, but I'm not sure if she might have been. No, she couldn't have been in relation. No, she wasn't in relation to Abraham. I want to figure. I gotta figure out her lineage too. But again, the Moabite lineage, we going from Lot to Abraham, and the connection is kind of like, again, like Muhammad and Ali, right? Lot was traveling with Abraham. He basically picked up the creed with Abraham and basically converted, um, like Abraham did, right? And following this creed, we're going to get into why this is so important and why Lot is such an important figure in relation to Abraham in this whole story, right? And again, this makes a connection back to us as Moors, right? And again, the whole Lot, Abraham, Muhammad, Ali, because again, we trace our lineage through Ali. Just like on the Hebrew side, we trace our lineage through Lot to Abraham, right? Like on the Islamic side or Arab side, we trace our lineage through Ali to Muhammad, right? So this Genesis 18, right? It says, and the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre and sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. So just imagine this is, imagine what's going on or what's happening, right? Right. Yahweh, right? This is the Lord. Whenever you see Lord spelled in all uppercase, that's Yahweh, right? It says he appeared unto him, Abraham, in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. So Yahweh appears to Abraham, right? Because they'll say like, oh, nobody's seen Allah never appeared or God never appeared as a man. Well, here's an example in the Old Testament of God appearing as a man. Because they try to say Jesus, the whole thing. Oh, he wouldn't. God, why would God become a man? And well, he did it to Abraham. It's right here, Genesis chapter 18. It says, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, three men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground. So there's three men now. It's the Lord, and then there's two men with him. And when Abraham seen them, he bowed himself towards the ground. So this is one of the reasons why when we pray, one of the positions that we take is to bow. You know what I'm saying? In Islam, one of the rakats that they do after you do this, all right, Rabbina walak alham, you go Allahu Akbar. And then you go Subhana Rabbil Alim, Subhana Rabbil Alim, Subhana Rabbil Alim. You say that in the bowing position. I do my own type of prayer. I do the Islamic prayer too, but I also do my own type of prayer. And then in that prayer, I also do a position where I'm bowed. Right. And this is in honor of Abraham. Right. It says, and said, my Lord. Right. This when you see the Lord that way, lowercase is Adonai. Right. So using a different name here, saying, my Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee for thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. This is another reason why in ablution before prayer, especially in the Islamic tradition, you wash your feet, each foot 3 times. Right? Christians do this practice too, where they wash other people's feet. That's also something Jesus did to the disciples. He washed their feet. It's a very, symbolic symbol of being humble. But so Abraham goes, he gets water and washes the Lord's feet. And he says, I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort ye your hearts. After that, ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, so do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah and said, make ready quickly the measures of fine meal needed, and make it cakes upon the hearth. Right? This is unleavened cakes too. Oh no, that's in 19. All right, it says, all right, let me get to where. All right, so let's get the right. And it says, and the men rose up from thence. So this after they, ate and they, relaxed and everything under the tree and everything. He says, and the men rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord. Right? So the way Abraham was to follow was the way of the Lord. And this is supposed to be done by his children and his household and the people in his household after him. Right? So, and then when they talk about his household, not just his regular house, but anybody that come in his family, his nation. Right? To do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me. And if not, I will know. So I'm going to go down to Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm going to see if what they've been saying is really what it is. And if it is, then I'm gonna know. And if it's not, then I'll know that as well. It says, and the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before the Lord. So the two other men that was with the Lord went to Sodom. But Abraham stayed with the Lord. Why? Because of this. He says, oh, wait, hold up. Okay. It says, and Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou destroy the righteous with the wicked? Right? Now the word righteous again is Zadok or Zadik. The name Melchizedek, Melech Zadok. Melech means king of righteousness. Right? So Zadok, that's the Hebrew word for righteousness. So he's saying, Abraham is asking, so you're gonna go down to Sodom and will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? And remember the word righteous too is connected to a feminine root, right? Righteousness is one of those qualities that is very prominent in the Bible in relation to salvation. Right. So again, Abraham, he asking, so you're going to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all earth do right? And the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy. And he spake unto him yet again and said, peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. So he basically negotiating with Allah, with the Most High. He's saying, look, if you find 50 people, will you spare those 50? He said, all right, I'll spare it. If you find 45, I'll spare it. All right, well, if you find 40, and he kind of talking them down, right? So he said unto him, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure, there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will do it. If I find 30 there, and he said, behold, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure, there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it if 20 for 20's sake. He said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure, 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left, communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. Right? So basically, Abraham was pleading, not just like pleading for his people, but really once he got the number, he really, it's like he was pleading for Lot and his family. Because remember, we talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. The word Sodom, we all know what the word Sodom means, right? Right? Sodomy is an abomination according to the Bible. So this was a wicked place. But Lot was the only one there. Pretty much him and his family was the only ones there that was righteous. So imagine that. So just think about this. This whole city is about to be destroyed. And Abraham pleads to the Most High to save this one family who was righteous in this place. This family and this man who we as Moabites descend from. right? So, and then they call it, what we just read, they call that Abraham's prayer. I suggest everybody get familiar with it, you know, just so you understand that prayer, right? This is very significant part of the Bible where we learn a lot, right, about Abraham, the way he prayed, what he prayed for, right? He prayed for the salvation of these people, his nephew and his family, and he was saved, right? So this chapter 19, it says, and there came two angels to Sodom at even, meaning at night, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. This is so bowing to pray is a very Moorish way to pray as well, right? It's like you're giving your head to the Most High. If we amongst our enemies or something like that, we already got the demonstration. Pray standing, and if you're in the comfort of your home or you're in a comfortable place, you have the demonstration of your forefather Abraham and Lot, where they prayed with their face towards the ground, or they bowed themselves with their face towards the ground. And he said, and it says, and he said, behold, my lords. Now, lords here is not all capital. It doesn't have a capital L, but it's lowercase. And the Hebrew word, again, what we reading from is a concordance. The Hebrew word right here, 113, is Aldon, AW-DONE apostrophe. All right. Um, it's related to the word Adonai, meaning Lord, Master, or Owner, ruler, or sovereign, controller. In reference to men, superintendent of house or affairs, master, king, reference to God, the God, Lord of the whole earth, lords or kings, reference to men. So he says, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house and tarry all night and wash your feet. Again, demonstration on, ablution. Before I pray, not all the time, it depends on like the situation. Sometimes, I just kick my shoes off or my flip-flops or my sandals. If I got socks on, I might just do my socks, depending on like what time of the day it is when I got a house lit, how when I got out the shower last. If it's been like a few hours or whatever, I'll go wash my feet. When I do my ablution, I don't wash my feet every time. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to understand, a lot of this was just practical for back in them days because, our ancestors, our forefathers and stuff like that, they wore sandals and they lived in the desert. So when they were walking around, their feet got really dirty. If you're going to pray, you got to make sure your feet are clean when you're stepping on that sacred space. You know what I'm saying? We wear shoes now. So just taking your shoes off and being in your socks is next to clean, is next to having your feet clean. If you want to just do the ritual, go in there, wash your feet. But know why you're doing it though. It's a connection back to the ancestors because this is what these rituals meant to do for us. The rituals meant to remind us as men because we fallible and we forget. But it's not to get caught up in the ritual, but the ritual is just to remind us of these things. That's why coming up now, matter of fact, on Monday starts Passover. I'm gonna be doing the Passover celebration. We're gonna recognize Passover. But Passover is a remembrance celebration of Exodus. you know? So these rituals and things we do is just meant to remind us of certain principles, right? And it says, and ye shall rise up early and go on your way. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly. And they turned unto him and entered unto his house, and he made them a feast. And he did bake unleavened bread. So this is another thing or reason why we, do the unleavened bread. Okay. Okay. Um, it says, and they did eat, but before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house. Right. So um, we all read through. We've gone through this before. This is the story of Sodom. His, they wake up, they try to break in his house. He offers up his daughters. Um, they get away. His wife turns around. She becomes a pillar of salt. And then there's also where the daughters, the supposed daughters, um, get him drunk and have sex with him and have Moab and Ammon. And remember though, because so let's deal with this real quick. It says right here, 1931. It says, "And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old." Right now, father, right? The word Alba, right, has a meaning of being the head or founder of a household, group, family, or clan. Right? Could be also the originator or patron of a class and a term of honor or respect, a ruler or a chief. So this term father does not always mean, especially in context, does not always mean biological father. Right? Because it says it's a noun, a masculine noun, the primitive word for father in a literal and immediate or figurative and remote application, meaning chief, right? Forefather, principal, or patrimony, right? He said, so they saying our chief, our leader is old, right? And the word firstborn, Bakira, is a feminine noun that also means firstborn daughter or firstborn of a woman, or firstborn of women, always used for women, right? Or it just means the eldest woman or eldest daughter, right? She said, He's old, and there's not a man in earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. Again, context is not dealing with a physical, biological father. This is the chief or the leader of the tribe. Uh, yeah, and it says, and they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him and perceived not, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son and called his name Moab. All right. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger also bore a son and called his name Ben Ami. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. All right. So again, the connection with the Moabites to Abraham, or the connection with Abraham as far as the creed and religion in which Muhammad is supposed to follow, is directly connected to us as Moabites, being the descendants of Lot, who was the first, pretty much was the first male to accept or practice the creed and religion of Abraham. This is why he was spared during this particular part of the Bible where Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Why? Because he was righteous. That was the criteria. He was not wicked, he was righteous. Right? This has to do with the spirit of righteousness, right? The spirit of truth, the Holy Spirit, the Holy breath, which again is a feminine aspect, right? Holy breath in our Moorish Holy Quran is referred to as she. So you have to have this holy breath in order to be righteous, right? And just think about it. This is why. So think about it in terms like this, right? If we taking this as an example, our forefather Lot was saved and spared from the destruction of a city because of his righteousness. This is why when we as Moors, we say we Moors, and we in these different territories, we gotta be doing things and be active in the community and doing charity and being known for being righteous. Because the lesson in this is that if there is going to be a situation that come down like that to the cities that we in, we need to be the ones that's known to be righteous so we can get the warning first to get up out of it. This is one of the reasons why I believe that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was saying things like, or they say he said things like, I'm gonna take my good Moors up on an incline. I have planes, apparatus, zeppelins. Because now this not, we got to think practically. Because when the destruction does come, we not spooky about this. In the Bible, the Most High would use and rise up evil nations against the nation of Israel just to show the nation of Israel, put them in a place, and would utterly destroy Israel. So what that means is in these modern days and times, or just in the, adjusting the way we think about it, coming out of the whole spookism, in a real sense, is that the powers that be, when we find ourselves in these different nations, and these nations is warring with each other, we find ourselves in positions where we could get wiped out and destroyed. Right? So an example, and so again, this is just my interpretation and my opinion of what, talking about the prophet. The prophet back in his time, if this is true that he did say that, is because he did have it, in my opinion, set up to the point where he was going to have an airline, right? Because again, when they say he went to the Pan American Conference in 1928, one of the topics of discussions was aviation, right? And airspace and stuff like that. There was a whole bunch of other things on the topic too, but this is one of, as well as like copyright and stuff like that. But in my opinion, why wouldn't the prophet have been thinking like that? But again, he said he had these things. Or they say he said he had these things. Because why? If and when there is something that's going to come down, the way we are supposed to be as a society and as a community, we supposed to be, the sheik's supposed to be tapped in with what's going on in the different territories, in the states, and on the federal level. Like National Grand say all the time, if you a local sheik, you supposed to be in contact with your mayor. If you a governor in that territory where you have at least 7 temples under you, you're supposed to be in contact with the governor. And if you have, what is it, 21 temples, right? You now on the federal, you look down on the federal type on that level. So you're supposed to have a connection, work connection with the president's office. So when things is happening, emergencies and catastrophes, we supposed to be in the know, right? Somebody supposed to pick the phone. Yo, look, um, so and so, we just got word there's gonna be whatever emergencies happen, levee about to break, uh, emergency attack, something. You might want to get your people organized and get up out of here. Click. That type of working relationship is the example that happened in the story we just read with Lot, Abraham. Abraham was able to put the call in for Lot. Angels show up, yo, gotta get up out of here, bro. Don't even look back. See, we not spooky. This is not spooky. We gotta look at this thing in practical terms. But if we not being righteous, we not living properly, we're instructed and like we supposed to, and we running around like these internet Moors with like chickens with our heads cut off, making the prophet look silly, we gonna get caught up in the destruction too. We're not gonna get that. We're not gonna get that warning call. He, the Most High had to know that Lot was a righteous person out there. The Most High, them angels that came to save, had to know Lot and them. There are some righteous people in that city. Get them up out of there first, please. But if you're not known in your city for being right, we not known in our city for being righteous and doing righteous things, what make us think we gonna get that word? Oh, because we just Moabites, we just Moors. We connected to Jesus. Jesus was a Moor. You know how many times the Most High destroyed Israel? Just because you of the field don't mean you're going to be part of the harvest when it's time to reap. Is this movement not just about a national raising? We gonna be an empire again. The real empire is in your mind. This physical thing we talk about the Moorish empire, all that, it's never gonna manifest itself again until we all get there here. The reason why it was there in the past is because we was all on one accord mentally. We was all moving in one direction, like the prophet instructed us to do with his demonstration, but we don't do that. So moving right along. Um, Anybody got any questions? No. All right. All right. So does anybody know the five pillars of Islam? The supposed 5 pillars of Islam? Because they're not listed like that in the Quran. Anybody know what they are? Yeah.
Islam. Traveling a little bit, but the first one would be the belief in one God. The next one would be prayer, and then is zakat or charity. The fourth one would be fasting for Ramadan, and the last one would be supposedly the Hajj. Islam.
Islam. Thank you, brother Jawad. Definitely appreciate your vibrations, brother. So, yeah, so exactly. Those are the 5 supposed pillars of Islam. Now, is that unique to Islam? I see. I'm about to have to unmute everybody mic now.
Are you asking, is that the only pillars of Islam?
No, I'm asking,
no,
is Islam the only, so is Islam the only religion that has these pillars?
No,
no.
not at all.
Okay. Right. Because again, like Brother Jawan said, you have Shahada, which in Islam or in Arabic, they call this Tawheed, which is oneness of God. All right. You also have prayer or Salat, right? Christians pray, right? And according to them, they believe in one God. It just, he has multiple persons. We believe in a triune Allah. You know, we can't get away from that. That's in your Moorish Holy Quran, right? So Salat or prayer, right? Everybody prays. Most religious people, most religions, they pray. All zakat, which is almsgiving or charity. Most religions do charity. Buddhists, Zoroastrians, Christians, Jews, Muslims, you know, most religions do charity, right? Fasting. Most religions have a you know, practice some sort of fasting ritual as well. And then Hajj, right? Hajj just means pilgrimage, right? Most religions have some sort of pilgrimage tradition where they go from one place to another and they do their worship thing and then they go back. Hindus do this, Buddhists do this, you know, etc. Right? Now, in the Hindu faith, there are lesser gods, right? Even in Judaism, there's lesser, the Elohim are the lesser gods, right? Even in the Arabic term, I mean, even in Islam, you often, when you read the Quran, they use the plural we. We did this, we taught, we told. You're always going to see that plural. Muslim, quote unquote, Muslim scholars, they try to say it doesn't mean plurality. It has to do with emphasis on strength. So when you see the word we, it doesn't mean like he, right? He is less, like there's less strength or power involved in the word he as opposed to we. That's how they try to explain it, right? They say, you know, Arabic is one of those languages, it's very poetic, so it can mean multiple. No, let's talk about the Elohim, right? See, and this is where we differ with them, because they rely on hadith that came after Muhammad to explain the Quran for them. We rely on the Bible in the biblical traditions that came before to rely on understanding the Quran. That's where we differ from the Sunnis, the Shias, and this is because just like Muhammad was taught in the Quran, right? He was taught that if he had any doubts about anything, that he was supposed to go to those that knew the scriptures that came before him. So he was supposed to go to the Christians and the Jews. But again, this is because he was the unlettered prophet, meaning he was the Gentile or ignorant. He wasn't part of the fold, right? All the prophets came from the line of Isaac and Jacob. They didn't come from Ishmael. So he was outside of that fold, which really meant he didn't understand the traditions of the book. He didn't understand the traditions of the Christians. He didn't understand the traditions of the Jews. But he knew that the Arabs needed something of that. They needed that same tradition, but they didn't know how to read Greek and they didn't know how to read Hebrew. So he came with the Quran in Arabic as their revelation and the confirmation of those other books so that they knew. Right. But again, these traditions of the five pillars can be found in the Old Testament. Right. So some examples of that. Somebody give me Deuteronomy 5, 6, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 6. You can go from like 6 and read on. I'll tell you when to stop, and then somebody else give me Matthew chapter 4, verse 10. So I'm gonna show y'all where in the Bible these concepts of the five pillars can be found. So for Shahada or Tawheed, like I said, somebody give me Deuteronomy 5, verse 6 and forward, and then somebody else give me Matthew chapter 4, verse 10. Slow. So in normal settings in a normal Moorish meeting, right? Normally there would be at least two people. Like if I'm presenting, there'd be normally two people. One would have a Bible, the other would have the Quran. And those two people would be designated to read when the presenter needs them to read out of those books. Right. So one person would probably have a Bible, the other person would be responsible for the Moorish Holy Quran and readings out of that, and the Quran of Mecca and readings out of that. You know what I'm saying? Like we come on every Friday and Saturday, Friday and Sunday, and do this work. You know what I'm saying? It's expected that the Moors that get on the call, you guys make sure y'all show up prepared, your literature that you need, and at least give some participation. You know what I'm saying? And just be on call and ready to participate when called upon. That's the only expectation. Like we don't ask much. You know what I'm saying?
Islamism.
So,
Islam, could you repeat those again, please?
yeah, so Deuteronomy 5, verse 6 and forward, and then Matthew chapter 4, verse 10. And thank you, Moses.
I got Matthew chapter 4, verse 10.
Yeah, let me get that. And then whoever got Deuteronomy 5, come in after.
Jesus said to him, "Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Then the devil left him, and the angels came and attended him.
All right. So you see how Jesus said, get away from me, worship the Lord and him alone. All right. So that's Jesus giving you Tawheed. Right. Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve.
What was the other one?
Anybody?
Deuteronomy?
Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 6. And I'll let you know when to stop.
Okay, I have it.
All right, go ahead, Mo.
Islam, Deuteronomy 5, verse 6. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image or any likeness of any thing that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
All right. That's cool. Thank you, Mo. So you see how this particular chapter and verses are talking about the oneness of God and believing in the oneness of him alone, not taking any other gods before him, right? Not making any graven images or anything that's in the earth or above the earth or under the earth or in the waters, and not bowing yourself down to these things. So when it's talking about graven images, these are idols, right? So one thing that the Christians do in violation is they pray and bow down before a cross. That's a graven image of a man on the cross, right? That's a graven image. It's telling them not to do that. You shall not make any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. Right? People be kissing the cross, you know, doing all these different things, praying to it. That's not Tawhid. Right? Now, prayer, right? This is somebody give me give me Jeremiah 29 verses 10 through 13. And then somebody give me Matthew 6, 5 through 7.
Hey, I had a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Will those same laws and commandments apply to Muslims when they make the Hajj and pray to the uh what is it? The
Kaaba.
Kaaba.
Nah, even so, those not really Muslims. Them Sunnis. I don't even consider Sunnis Muslims like that, because they do stuff like that. They break this commandment here, right? They made a graven image, right? A stone, right? A cube, a box, and they pray towards it, even though the Quran does not say that. The Quran says to pray in the direction of the great mosque, right? And they use the word Qibla. Qibla means direction. And a lot of them are confused and taught that the Qibla is the Kaaba and that the sacred mosque is the Kaaba. The sacred mosque is Masjid al-Haram, which is the masjid that encompasses the Kaaba. So what they did was they built a mosque around the Kaaba. They built, and mind you, that mosque was not even built until after Muhammad. Like, that mosque was built a year after Muhammad died in Mecca. The only two mosques that was in existence during the time of Muhammad was in Medina. Well, one was in Medina. I think the other one was in Somalia or something like that. It was in Africa somewhere. But those was the only two mosques that was. So when the Quran ordered them to turn the direction towards the great mosque or the sacred mosque, the only mosque at that time that would have been considered sacred was actually Medina. But a year later, Abu Bakr built Masjid al-Haram. Now, remind you that the masjid there is named haram. Haram in Arabic means forbidden, or some people they try to say it means sacred too, but the masjid is called haram. Anything in if you know anything about Islam, when somebody say haram, what that mean?
Forbidden.
Forbidden. So peep the flyness that the Sunnis did. Now you got to understand the history of who these Sunnis are. The Sunnis represent the Meccans that went to war with Muhammad. Right? When Muhammad first came on the scene in 612, right? Or excuse me, in 610 with his message, he was preaching in Mecca to the Meccans. The Meccans went to war with him twice in a span of 12 years. Went to war with him twice, kicked him out of Mecca. That's why he went to Medina. Then they ended up converting, right? They end up converting, and then when he dies, there's this whole schism and controversy behind the succession of the leadership, right? So what happens now is you have these same Meccans that didn't want to get down with Muhammad that's now trying to usurp the leadership position from Muhammad's only blood relative that's qualified for the position named Ali. Right, so now you got Ali and the Ansar, or the Arabs of Medina that first converted, because so Ali and the Arabs of Medina, who they called the Ansar, these were the first converts to Islam, right? And these are the ones who, after Muhammad passed, had an issue with these Meccans, the ones that took 12 years to convert and went to war with Muhammad twice before converting. These the ones that now want to gain control of his movement. Y'all following what's going on? So now they basically get Ali out the way. Abu Bakr gets voted in as the caliph. And then from then on starts the BS with the back and forth between these Meccan Sunnis, who have now built a new mosque in Mecca, got everybody, they got everybody now praying this, like it's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Right, and then at the same time they're going to war with Ali in the Ansar, right? And then this is where you start to get the descendants of Ali. They end up getting poisoned and killed and imprisoned. This is the beef between the Shias and the Sunnis, right? While we, as the family of the house, the family of the Prophet, we stuck in the middle, getting bumped off. This is why, I'm going into this because this, again, we talking about why they pray that way towards the Kaaba and all that, because these pagans, these pagan Arabs, that's what they is. They pagans hijack the Prophet Muhammad's movement and turn these people into pagans. Now they follow Bukhari, Tirmidhi, Sahih Muslim, Ibn Kathir. This is who they follow. They follow these people. They don't, and all of these dudes is Persians. Remember the Arabs, we beat the Persians. All the people that put together this so-called hadith that these Sunnis follow are non-Arabs. It was all put together by Persians, the same ones we beat and overthrew. You really think they put something together that had the best interest of us in mind? At the same time, their whole setup was killing, imprisoning us, poisoning us, killing us off, going to war with us, keeping us out the fold. This is why we got to understand the history of Islam and how it came to be. This is one of the reasons why a lot of Moors end up going the Sunni route. This is one of the reasons why I feel like Malcolm X became a Sunni and went that demonstration, because we don't understand the actual history. First, we don't understand our connection to Muhammad. We don't know we Moors. We don't know we don't see the Prophet put these pieces together for us in a way that made it easy for us to do what the masterminds do and trace ourselves back through the ages. So now we definitely don't. That demonstration is non-cipher. It's not even in the Quran. The Quran does not say to pray towards no Kaaba. The word Kaaba in Arabic is Bait Allah. Bait al-Allah. Or Bait ul-Allah.
Islam Grand Sheik.
Yeah.
I was you said it was Jeremiah, excuse me, Jeremiah 29. What now?
Okay, yeah, let's go. Jeremiah 29 verses 10 to 13, and then Matthew 6, 5 through 7.
Okay, not to cut your wisdom. I just wanted to be prepared. That's all.
Nah, for sure. That's all I had to say about that. We can get back to it. If you got it, go ahead and read it, Mo. Remember, we on prayer right now. This is the pillar of prayer.
For thus saith the Lord, or Yahweh, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you, in causing you to return to this place. For I know the thoughts that you think toward you, saith Yahweh, thoughts of peace, not of evil, to give you an expected end. Then shall ye call upon me, and ye shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. And ye shall seek me and find me, and ye shall search for me with all your heart.
Islam, thank you, Mo. So you see where it say, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you. It says, then shall ye call upon me, and ye shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. Right? So this again, this example of praying in the Bible. You also have Psalms chapter 5, verse 3, and Psalms chapter 145, verse 18, talking about prayer or praying, right? Anybody got Matthews chapter 6, verses 5 through 7? So now, can't nobody tell you that the so-called 5 pillars of Islam is just unique to Islam. So now you could tell people, well, where the 5 pillars of Islam come from? Because remember, the Quran is a confirmation of the Bible. It's not a correction of the Bible. These Sunnis will try to tell us that, see, this is why the Prophet came and did what he did. See, the Prophet gave us the triune demonstration, because why would Muhammad put something out as a confirmation of the Bible, the Torah, and the Injil, but it contradicts the theology of the triune Allah, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and the divinity of Jesus as the Son of God? See, the Prophet gave us that. He gave us that back. This is why he separated us this to Brother Yasin. This is why we Muslims. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Brother Yasin. This is why we Muslims. We not Sunni, Shia, Salafi, Ashari. We not none of these sects. We not sectarians. Our religion is Islamism. It's the old time religion. It's the way of Abraham that can be found in the Bible. So again, these mushrikin, what they call in the Bible, mushrikin, or mushriks, the disbelievers, they try to say kafir. I don't even use kafir because they use that too. And plus, kafir is like a derogatory term for black people. But they mushriks, right? They go against the very teachings of Allah.
What was that chapter again? Matthew 6?
Yeah, Matthew 6, 5, and 7.
Okay, prayer. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by men. I tell you the truth, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think that they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask Him. This then is how you should pray: Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not unto temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For if you forgive men when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins. They got fasting in here. Let me keep going, Sheik.
Hold up. Matter of fact, hold that down because we're gonna come back to that. Because we got fasting coming up in 1 second. So also too is Matthew chapter 26 verses what's that, 41. Right. And this is a short one. It's really just talking about not being led to temptation. So it say, watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Right. So so these particular chapters dealing with Jesus talking about how to pray. Right. Is just dealing with not being like a hypocrite. Not, again, Allah already know what you need in your life. You know what you're lacking. So again, don't ramble asking for things, selfishly and, stuff like that. And Jesus gives us the breakdown of the Lord's Prayer. And you don't got to say it exactly like that, but you got to understand, you need to really break down each verse or each stanza, right? What is being alluded to? Right? Our Father that art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Right? That's submission that's being a Muslim. Allah, and I submit my will to you. I come before you humble and be da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? It's the same principle, right? Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the food and the nourishment that I've received. Thank you for the breath that's in my lungs, the sanity in my mind, my ability to see all my senses, right? All right, give us a day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Right? Forgive me of my sins as I forgive people that sin against me. Help me to forgive people that sin against me, or give me the discretion to be able to see and forgive people that do things to me, because I want to be able to come before you and you forgive me of the things that I've done against other people that I might not have even seen. Really embodying the words, or really expounding on the words and putting them deep within yourself. These are the things that we really need from Allah. You don't need material things. If you do these things, Allah will add on to you those material things. But if you don't know how to treat people right, you don't know how to treat yourself right, you don't know how to honor yourself, honor Allah through these commandments and these principles, then you're not going to be rewarded, period. Like, we're not going to be rewarded, period. Right? So now the next of the pillars is zakat, or almsgiving. Right? Somebody give me Deuteronomy 14, 28 and 29. And then in the New Testament, give me John chapter 3, verse 17.
Islam, Grand Sheik.
Islam.
Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 28. At the end of 3 years, thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase the same year, and thou shalt lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he hath no part nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, And the fatherless and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come, and thou shalt eat and be satisfied, that Yahweh, thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hand which thou doest. Wow.
Islam. Thank you, more. So I see somebody else give me John chapter 3:17, but you see here in the Old Testament, there's other ones too. So you got Isaiah 58:7, you got Deuteronomy 15:7-8, we got Proverbs 19:17, Leviticus 25:35. These are all examples of zakat or almsgiving or charity, right? We can do this individually, or we do this as a group or collective as a temple. Because back in those days, that's what it was. You know, you would give a tenth. That's what tithe in the Hebrew means tenth, right? But you would give a tenth of your harvest or whatever you reap to the Levites of the temple. That would get doled out to the less fortunate, right? Part of it would get put up in the granary for, you know, possible drought or whatever, because you gotta have a surplus. Like you gotta have stuff put away. You can't just eat everything. This is why this is a commandment. But part of that would go to feeding, like it said in the passage that the Moor just read, the orphans, the widows, et cetera, et cetera. So y'all see how these are principles that are meant to sustain a nation. Anybody got John 3:17? Somebody, anybody? I want to get through this because I want to get to something else too.
Is that the 1 John or 2 John?
Just the out of the I forget what they call the first 4 books. Not like 1st or 2nd John, just regular John, like Matthew, Mark, the last one, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Islam.
That's 3:17. If anybody could get Luke 11:41 as well, that's cool.
Islam Grand Sheet. I got John 3:17.
All right.
And it says, for God sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth is not condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil.
Islam. So right there is Islam. That's dealing with Allah's charity to us, right? Allah's zakat to us, which was given us his only son. I meant to say 16 and 17. But again, that's dealing with, well, you know, John 3:16 is the famous verse. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth him shall not perish but have everlasting life. For God sent not his son to the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Right? So again, this is the, you know, example of the charity or zakat of Allah. Right? So when you give alms or charity as zakat, is the remembrance of this principle that God or Allah gave us a salvation or a saving power through, we understand the principle of Christ. again, we're not gonna get into no argument with nobody about the historicity of Jesus, whether he really existed, and you know, we're not debating that. As Moors, we accept the fact that Jesus is our forefather, he existed, and we deal with the principle of Christ, because Christhood is the anointing, right? He was given that degree. So this is why I definitely recommend that everybody get the Aquarian Gospels of Christ, right? This is the complete work from Levi Dowling, because in that book it deals with when he was bestowed the degree of Christ, because he had to go through a certain number of he had to go through a certain number of tests, and upon completion of upon completion of the 7th test, or the 7th degree, he was given the title of Christ, the Christ. So real quick, I'll just read it, right? So this is chapter 55. Jesus passes the 7th brotherhood test, and in the purple room of the temple receives the 7th, the highest degree, the Christ. He leaves the temple a conqueror. It says the work of Jesus in the chamber of the dead was done. And in the temple purple room, he stood before the Hierophant, and he was clothed in purple robes, and all the brothers stood. The Hierophant arose and said, "This is a royal day for all the hosts of Israel. In honor of their chosen son, we celebrate the great Passover feast." Again, Passover coming up on Monday. It says, and then he said to Jesus, "Brother man, most excellent of men, in all the temple test, you have won out. 6 times before the bar of right, you have been judged. 6 times you have received the highest honors man can give. And now you stand prepared to take the last degree. Upon your brow, I place this diadem, and in the great lodge of the heavens and earth, you are the Christ. This is your great Passover rite. You are a neophyte no more, but now a mastermind. Now man can do no more, but God himself will speak and will confirm your title and degree. Go on your way, for you must preach the gospel of goodwill to men and peace on earth. Must open the prison doors and set the captives free. And while the Hierophant yet spoke, the temple bells rang out. A pure white dove descended from above and sat on Jesus' head. And then a voice that shook the very temple said, "This is the Christ." And every living creature said, "Amen." The great doors of the temple swung ajar. The Logos journeyed on his way a conqueror. So Christ is a degree, right? It's that raising of the lower self, or the nafs, right? In Hebrew, the nefesh. In our doctrine, the lower self, raising its vibrations to the point where it's conquered by the higher self, the higher intellect, right? Because remember, this is, and the nafs represent the soul or the ego of man, right? The lower self that's really dragged down by the flesh, the carnal desires, that part of self that's dragged down by the flesh in the lowest vibrations of the ethers. Right? This is why our Moorish Holy Quran talk about raising our thoughts, right? To thoughts divine. This is why it's good to, do your prayers and dig into your Bible, dig into your Quran, dig into your Moorish Holy Quran. Make these connections, do your studies, See where the Holy Spirit guides you in your walk, in your demonstration. So you could get on these calls and start presenting yourself. Because what Jesus said, what I could do, you could do. But Jesus was well studied and versed in the scriptures. He knew the scriptures when he was 12. That's why he was able to say, so I'll give y'all this right here. So you know how can anybody tell me why Jesus said on the cross, my God, why have thou forsaken me? Why did he do that? Anybody know why he said that?
Islam, was it because he was dealing with the law of vibration at the time?
Mm-mm. So I'm gonna pull it up real quick. So that's Mark, was it Mark 15:34? Let's see if I can do it real quick.
Islam.
Mm-hmm.
I always think about that, but I was thinking because the flesh is weak and the spirit is strong, and he had to bear that burden. Uh, his spirit was able to go through it, but his flesh was not as strong as his spirit was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, I'm gonna show y'all something else though. Remember, I said Jesus was very versed in the scriptures. Right. So Mark chapter 25, oh excuse me, 15 verse 34. He says, and at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Right? So, okay. So if you go to Psalms, right? Chapter 22, right? First verse, it says, to the chief musician upon a psalm of David. The first verse starts out, look what it say. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? Oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but thou hearest not, in the night season, and am not silent. But thou art holy, O that inhabitest the praises of Israel. Our fathers trusted in thee, they trusted, and thou didst deliver them. They cried unto thee and were delivered. They trusted in thee and were not confounded. But I am a worm and no man, a reproach of men and despised of the people. All they that see me laugh me to scorn. They shoot out the lip, they shake the head. He trusted on the Lord that he would deliver him. Let him deliver him, seeing he delighted in him. But thou art he that took me out of the womb. Thou didst make me hope when I was upon my mother's breast. I was cast upon thee from the womb. Thou art my God from my mother's belly. Be not far from me, for trouble near, for there is none to help. All right, that's cool. But again, so this is basically Jesus repeating this particular psalm, a psalm of deliverance. Right? So he didn't just say that just to say that. You know, a lot of people say
Islam, what chapter was that again?
this Psalms chapter 22, first verse, and
Islam.
then going down. But again, this is where he got it from. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? He was fulfilling this scripture. And you can only imagine the Jews that knew what was up and that really conspired to have that done to him. Imagine how they felt when they heard him say that, because they knew where that came from. They went right back to the psalm. Oh my God, I cry in the daytime. Right? They cry unto thee and you deliver. He said, but I am a worm and no man, a reproach of men and despised of the people. All they that see me laugh me to scorn. They shoot out the lip, they shake their head. Right? That was him. Jesus was a reproach to them at that time. He was scorned, despised of his own people. It sounded like the prophet Noble Dry Ali. Right? Done in by his own people. Because it was the Moors that gave the prophet up to the popos, to the Roman soldiers. Like they gave up Jesus to the Roman soldiers. Beat him down. He got beat down. You know what I'm saying? All right. So fasting is also in the Bible, of course. We got Joel chapter 2, verse 12. You got Daniel chapter 10, verse 3. You got Zechariah chapter 8, verse 19. Right? We did Matthew chapter 6, right? Verses 16 through 18. The more was just going over that. Brother Q, when he read about prayer in Matthew chapter 6. Pilgrimage or Hajj. Somebody give me Genesis 12, verse 1, and Luke chapter 2, 41 through 42. Because our Sunni brothers and sisters over there, they make it seem like in order to do this or complete Hajj, we got to go to Mecca and go kiss the stone, touch the stone, and do all this, that, and the third. Right? As far as I know, there is no requirement to do that specifically in the Quran. It just say make Hajj. All right, Islam, boy, you got it.
Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. Now the Lord hath said to Abraham, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will shew thee, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. You want me to keep going?
Now go to Exodus 34, 23 and 24. So you see how in Genesis we're dealing with a pilgrimage with Abraham, where he went from the land of his fathers to the land of Canaan.
What is those verses again?
In the New Testament, let me get Luke chapter 2, 41 through 42. Brother Yadin, give me Exodus 34, 23 and 24.
Okay. Exodus 34, 23. It says, "Thrice in a year shall all your men children appear before the Lord our God, the God of Israel." Islam, and it says at 34, it says, "But when Moses went in before the Lord to speak with him, he took the veil off until he came out. And he came out and spake unto the children of Israel that which he was commanded."
Now give me
Islam
read 24.
24. Okay. "For I'll cast out the nations before thee and enlarge thy borders, neither shall any man desire the land when thou shalt go up to appear before the Lord thy God thrice in the year."
Right. So the children of Israel, so technically as Hebrews, we supposed to meet, especially as men, we supposed to pilgrim 3 times a year. Meaning we supposed to meet for convention, or we supposed to convene and assemble 3 times a year. And you hear what the Most High say. If we do that what read 24 again?
Islam, it says, "For I will cast out the nations before thee and enlarge thy borders. Neither shall any man desire thy land when thou shalt go up to appear before the Lord thy God thrice in the year." Islam.
Hmm. I mean, that sounds like a pretty fair exchange, good exchange to me. Anybody got Luke 2:41 and 42? So when the Muslims say, "Well, do y'all do Hajj?" We supposed to say, "Yeah, 3 times a year." And no, we don't fly all the way to Mecca and all that.
Islam. I have Luke 2, 41, 42.
All right, let me get that more.
The extraordinary child, verse 41. "Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of Passover.
Hmm.
And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast." Islam, keep reading.
No, that's 41 and 42.
Yes, Luke 2, 41, 42.
Okay, yeah, no, that's it. So you even see how Jesus did this custom too. He pilgrim too. He did Hajj. We've been doing Hajj. The Hajj that they do in Mecca is a old Arab pagan custom. They've been doing that, going to that same Kaaba, that same location, doing that same circumambulation thing, kissing the stone, touching the stone. Some of them, they would bring, again, they had 360 sign idols. It was more than that. Some people would bring their own idols. You know what I'm saying? And they just the pagan Arabs after Muhammad died brought that tradition back. Muhammad, they say he did a Hajj or pilgrimage one time. This is according to Hadith. This is not recorded in the Quran that he did Hajj or pilgrimage to Mecca. This is according to Hadith, and they say he touched the stone and he kissed it. Now, why would he do something like that if he a prophet? When the same Quran, Surah 33, verse 40, says that he's the seal of the prophets. So if he's the seal or the authority of the prophets, or he has the stamp or authorization or authenticity of the prophethood, why would he do something like touch a stone and kiss it? And then the same hadith say that his successor was basically struggling with doing the same thing, but he said, "Oh, because I saw Muhammad do it, I know that there's no power in you, and you can't do anything for me. But because I saw Muhammad touch you and kiss you, I'm going to do the same thing." Like he was struggling himself to make up his mind whether he wanted to do it or not, because that's pagan. Wow. But they believe that Muhammad did this because they follow Sahih al-Bukhari. Again, they Bukhariists. They hadithists. They're not. I hate to say this about them, but it is what it is. And the reason why I feel this way too about them is because they've been against Muhammad since the beginning. Once he stepped on the scene with the tradition, with the Abrahamic way in 610, the Meccans been on him. They was against him then, they still against him now. Or should I say, they was against us then, they still against us now. So I don't got no love for nobody that claim that, and then they don't got no love for us. Because man, again, the history is crazy. So that's what I got for the 5 pillars. So again, y'all, the 5 pillars can be found in the Bible, right? And you're not even gonna find the 5 pillars necessarily listed like that in the Quran. But just to kind of drive home again some of the connection to, all right, so when you study the lineage of Muhammad, right? It splits in a few ways, but you got to start with Ali and Hassan and Hussein. Then, Hassan and Hussein, they both had children. Again, we follow the lineage through Hassan because it was one of Hassan's descendants that fled to Morocco and started the city of Fez and married and had children with the Berber women. He became basically, he basically married into a noble Berber family and was able to tie the bloodlines. And so, right, it say that, so again, with the Sunnis and the Shias, the split has to do with the succession of Muhammad. And there was wars that went on after this. So this was not nothing that was light. It wasn't something that was just like, oh, okay, Abu Bakr, you can become the caliph. It wasn't, no. Ali, Fatima, and the Ansar was not with it. Right. So they called them 12ers. Right. And this is where if you really want to get more history about this whole schism, you want to study, especially from this side, the side of the descendants of Muhammad, right? Because the Shias kind of represent that. I'm more sympathetic with Shiism or Shia Islam than I am Sunni Islam. But Muhammad wasn't a Shia either. He wasn't a Sunni or a Shia. But it says the 12 Imams are the spiritual and political successors of the Islamic prophet Muhammad in the 12er branch of Shia Islam, including that of the Alawite and Alawi. So they even got different branches, right? And it says, according to 12er theology, the 12 Imams are exemplary human individuals who not only rule over the community with justice, but also are able to keep and interpret Sharia and the esoteric meaning of the Quran. The words and deeds of Muhammad and the Imams are a guide and model for the community to follow. As a result, they must be free from error and sin and must be chosen by divine decree through Muhammad. All right, it says, it is believed that in 12er Shia Islam, or 12er Shiism, that the Islamic prophet Muhammad and his household are infallible, possessing hikmah. So, and again, we trace ourselves through this household. They call the Ahlul Bayt, the people of the house. It says their oppression and suffering served greater purposes and were a means of divine grace to their devotees. So you see how they spin our oppression and suffering into something that's divine grace for them. But see, this is where they kind of with us, they kind of get this whole Christ-like thing, where like our blood saved them type thing. This is where you get with Shias, they actually cut themselves. They practice self-mutilation. They have a practice where they literally take knives and beat themselves and cut themselves open. It's like bloodletting. This is part of the practice that the Mayans and the Aztec priesthood do this too, but they used to. But they also practice human sacrifice, which when you look at how the descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, how they was getting killed, they was really basically being sacrificed. This is why, like, when you really understand the history and how all this religious stuff works, it's like the dots that I be connecting, man, I be like, just, it be blowing my mind sometimes. And not for nothing, they still doing that to this day with these baby destroying clinics that they call what they call them, Planned Parenthoods and all that, abortion clinics. That's nothing but sacrificing to Baal and Malak. We just don't know we doing it. It's promoted as women's rights now. You have permission to kill your babies, like the Bible said your pagan forefathers and foremothers was doing, against the commandments of your God, your real God. We lost, man. All right, it says the emails are guided and preserved in the text, blah, 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 blah. According to 12ers, there is at all times an imam of the era who is the divinely appointed authority on all matters of faith and law in the Muslim community. Ali, a cousin and son-in-law of Muhammad, was the first of the 12 imams, and in the 12ers view, the rightful successor to Muhammad, followed by male descendants of Muhammad through his daughter Fatima. So again, that's why, I stress knowing the lineage and knowing this part of the history, because to be honest, that's how the succession is supposed to have passed down. Again, Sunnis and others will fight on this because, again, when you think about it from historical standpoint, why would they not argue that the succession should be open to everybody? It's supposed to be not supposed to be passed down hereditarily. Now, at the end of the day, I do see why that could make sense, because again, when you understand the history, this is why we've always had problems with what they call fratricide or family infighting, because when you study even like the Bible, when you study the Berbers and the Moors, right? When you study the Arabs, when you even with this, when you study this, this history is dealing with family feuding, right? The family just is doing this to each other, killing each other off. This has always been a problem. Even when we look at like the conquistadors, when they came to the Americas, the reason why they was able to overthrow the Aztecs or that empire, because they was able to get the other natives to ally with them against the Aztecs. It's the same thing they did when they went into Northwest Africa and they started snatching us up. They were able to ally against those that we would have problems with, these other African tribes. They was able to ally with them the same way they did with the Mexica and the Tenochtitlan, not the Tenochtitlan, the Tlacta, I forget the other name of the Aztec enemies. The Tlactalani or something like that. Tlactalani, something like that. But they was able to ally all of them against the Aztec. Same, it's the same, it's always the same principle. But it says, right, each imam was the son of the previous imam, with the exception of al-Hussein, who was the brother of al-Hussam. The 12th and final imam is Muhammad al-Mahdi, who is believed by the 12ers to be currently alive and hidden in the major occultation until he returns to bring justice to the world. It is believed by 12er and these other ones that the 12 imams have been foretold in the hadith of the 12 accomplishers. All of the imams met unnatural deaths, with the exception of the last imam, who according to 12er and this other belief is living in occultation. So again, you see what it say, right? All of the imams met unnatural deaths, meaning all the descendants of Muhammad, the direct descendants, all the direct descendants of Muhammad, meaning, because remember, Ali, not only was he his son, his cousin, he was his son-in-law, who was the father of his grandchildren through his daughter Fatima. So Hassan and Hussein are the grandsons of Muhammad. These are the ones that, these descendants are the ones that make up the 12er or the Shia demonstration. And you see what they say. All of them met unnatural deaths. All of them. All of them. They killed us all. That's what unnatural deaths mean. Not natural death. They didn't suffer natural deaths. They was murdered. Y'all understand me? Y'all following what I'm saying? This not light. This serious.
Ism.
See, when we don't know who we are in relation to this history, we let these pagan pale Arabs talk to us like they some sort of authority. I be online when I be on. I just dropped on the Instagram. We made. If y'all go on Google right now, matter of fact, let me go to Google right now. Moors in America, like, right? If y'all Google Moors in America and scroll down, once you get to the little video section, where is that? I know it was on my phone. I probably gotta go under. Well, it was on my phone. The phone template a little different. But they had us listed, they had one of our videos listed up here from Instagram. It's the video where we were saying, I'm a Moorish American. Of course, I'm a Moorish American, right? But anyways, but yeah, that video, it you know what I'm saying, it's got a lot of engagement because that's how I talk to them now. Especially when if I go to their page and I see who they like, I see their complexion, like I know who you are. What's your, and you Sunni too? Oh, all right, you an enemy, you've been an enemy. And then you start hitting them with the history, they get quiet. This is why they try to drag us through the mud, because Prophet Noble Ali came with that fire. He came with that fire. Right. It says some of the imams have also have a leading role within some Sufi orders and are seen as the spiritual heads of Islam, because most of the spiritual chain of Sufi orders leads back to Muhammad through one of the 12 imams. So again, this is another reason why Sufism is, is close to us as Moorish Americans. Don't let no Sunni, because that they don't like Sufis either. Like And remember that this is the majority of Muslims, so-called Muslims. 80 to 90% of Muslims are Sunni. So don't expect no love, boys. I'm just saying, you know, I'm past like, again, if it's not reciprocated or, you know, given back, then it's definitely not, you know, one of those type of things. But what I wanted to show y'all real quick before we get off this call is that this is the list of imams. Now, I just want y'all to pay attention to the reason of death for all of them. Now, this is Ali ibn Abi Talib, right? The Lion of God. He was known as the Lion. Again, this is another reference to being, you know, to the Moabite connection, because the Moabites were known as they were referred to in the Bible at times as Ariel. Ariel means Lion of El, or Lion of God, right? Which is this actual phrase here, Lion of God, or the Lion in Arabic, right? This has to do with the Himyarite kings, the Arab Himyarites, or Eretus, right? The kings of Eretus. These were Moabites, or they were referred to a term that was used as Moabites. And again, cousin and son-in-law of Muhammad, according to the 12 of belief, was the only person to have been born in the Kaaba, the holiest site of Islam, and the first male to openly accept Islam, considered by Shia as the rightful successor of Muhammad. Sunnis also acknowledge him as the fourth caliph. He holds a high position in almost all Sufi Muslim orders. The members of these orders trace their lineage to Muhammad through him. So technically, the Moorish Science Temple of America is like a Sufi order. You know, we could by definition can claim that. We do trace our lineage to Muhammad through Ali, but again, ours is more, we say it's not just an order type thing. We got the bloodline as well. So that's where the Al-Bayt thing come into play. Now it says assassinated by Abd al-Rahman ibn Mujam, a Khajarite in Kufa, who struck his head with a poisoned sword while he was in prostration praying on the night of Qadr in the month of Ramadan. Now, you see that? Tried to kill him on one of the holiest nights in Ramadan. He didn't die that day. Again, was struck with a poisoned sword by a Khajarite. Now, remember Khajarites, right? Anybody remember where the Prophet Noble Drew Ali mentioned the Khajarites?
Islam. It was one of the newspaper, I think. I can't think of the name of it.
Right.
The Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving article. Yep.
So it's called, it's in this right here, Thanksgiving to whom, or Thanksgiving for whom. I don't know if I can see this because I can't really. But it says here, it mentions the Khajarites. It says, these Sadian Moors, Sada Black, were driven into Morocco and further down into West Africa and were later betrayed, captured, and sold into America as slaves. So we've went over who the Sadian Moors were, or the Sadi dynasty. Sada means black. And it says, hunting down the stern deep olive Khajarite Moor from Baghdad, Turkey, and slaying or enslaving him was an act highly regarded by the Christian European forces who despised these Moors. Right? Now, it was a Khajarite who was the one who assassinated Ali. Same Khajarite that's mentioned is chasing down the Sadian Moors or the Saudi Moors. And then this, you got to understand the Saudi Moors also were from the line of Ali. They was Ahlul Bayt. So you see how it was the same Khajarite that started this mess, and it was a Khajarite who brought it to an end during the 1492 period in our fall in Spain. Right? Now, Hassan, Ali's son, Muhammad's eldest grandson, right? Born in Medina. Now, again, Medina, they make Mecca out to be the holy place of Islam. But it was the Meccans that warred against Muhammad for 12 years, drove him out of Mecca. It was in Medina where Muhammad constructed the first mosque, masjid. It was in Medina where Islam was pretty much started, where he started getting, well, he got most of his revelation. And it's in Medina where all of his descendants were born. But they make you Hajj to Mecca, go walk around a stone, and kiss it and touch it in Mecca. But again, all the major descendants was born in Medina, which is ancient Yathrib, which Yathrib means Jethro. Jethro, the Canaanite that taught Moses, that Moses married his daughter Zipporah. Zippor. That's a very important name in the Bible. Zippor. Zippor is connected to a Moabite, actually. Balaam or Balak, excuse me, Balak in the Bible is connected to and Balak was a Moabite. Where is Balak talked about? Is it First Kings or First Samuel? But Balak is from a place called Zippor. The word Zippor is connected back to Zipporah, daughter of Midian. Jethro. And Jethro was a Midianite. And the Midianites got a whole chapter or surah in the Quran dealing with what prophet is that? It's not Shuaib. It's one of the prophets there though that warned them, and they was destroyed. But Hassan, look at how he died. Poisoned by his wife in Medina on the orders of the Caliph Muawiyah. The Caliph, the Sunni Caliph, had him killed by his wife, had him poisoned by his wife. Muawiyah was the founder and first caliph of the Umayyad Caliphate, ruling from 661, which is like almost 30 years after the death of Muhammad. He became caliph less than 30 years after the death of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, and immediately after the 4 Rashidun caliphs. So immediately after Ali, right? I didn't even realize candles off. Immediately after Ali, Muawiyah gains power. He starts the Umayyad Caliph. He basically starts the first dynasty. So what they went to war about between Abu Bakr and Ali and Uthman and excuse me, it was Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and then Ali. During that time, there was all these the caliphs was getting assassinated. You know, Ali was going to war. It was all this stuff. It was turmoil. Ali gets bumped off. Muawiyah becomes caliph. He starts the Umayyad Caliphate. Basically, he starts a dynasty, the first dynasty, right? And orders the assassination of Ali's son or eldest son by having him poisoned by his wife. This is the caliphate. This is the caliphate. That's the ruling leaders of Islam at the time, having the prophet, the founder of what they are in charge of, having his descendants murdered. Moors, y'all follow y'all understand? Y'all following what I'm saying?
It's Islam, Sister National Grand. That resembles of the story of Yeshua being born when King Harold sent the man out to try to kill off the bloodline.
Yes, sir. That's another connection. Absolutely.
Islam.
You see, like, again, you know, I like to stress this to y'all because I do this with them too. Like sometimes if I don't know that this is somebody that's Sunni that I'm dealing with and they argumentative, and I find out that they Sunni, I always go there. I say, oh, you represent those that killed the prophet. Because now remember, Prophet Muhammad was supposedly poisoned by his Jewish maid. They say Jewish, but by his maid. Who you think ordered the hit? We just think that just happened because you know she was just. Oh. See, when we understand the history, the dots start to make more sense. And you start to be able to see who was real and who was not. Because again, you got a lot of Moors that jump ship and go Ashari, go Sunni, you know, they go off that way. And it's like you a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, and you gonna go with those that killed them and killed them? Like it don't make sense. Right. So this is the guy that had Hassan murdered. Now Hussein, the eldest grandson of Muhammad, the younger grandson of Muhammad, also born in Medina, was a grandson of Muhammad and brother of Hassan. Hussein opposed the validity of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. I didn't even read this about Hassan. So it says Hassan was the eldest surviving grandson of Muhammad through Muhammad's daughter Fatima. Hassan succeeded his father as the caliph in Kufa, and on the basis of a peace treaty with Muawiyah, he relinquished control of Iraq following a caliphate of 7 months. So he was caliph for 7 months, and he went into a treaty with this dude Muawiyah, who ended up killing him. See, that's another thing when you study this history, like we was soft with these people. A lot of times when you read about some of the descendants of Muhammad and Hassan Hussein, like it was certain instances where they was like, even Ali, like in my opinion, I understand why he did what he did because he really just wanted things to be like, he didn't want no beef. He didn't want no problem. He didn't want to stir up anything anymore. But the way they ended up doing us at the end of the day, it's like when you think about how it ended up happening, he should have just did Muawiyah in. Like just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? You know, because look what happened to him. Look what happened to his children. Look what, like, listen to what happened to Hassan. He was the, excuse me, Hussein. He was the grandson of Muhammad and brother of Hassan. Hussein opposed the validity of Muawiyah. As a result, he, his family, and his companions were later killed in the Battle of Karbala by Yazid's forces. After this incident, the commemoration of Hussein ibn Ali has become central to Shia identity. Look, he was killed and beheaded. Right now, that's again, this is what they would do. Look, this is what they did to the prophet grandson. Killed him and took his head. And we supposed to be, as Moorish Americans that know our connection back to the prophet through this line, we supposed to be okay with these people? We supposed to turn the other cheek? You took my forefather head off. But you claim that you claim Muhammad as a prophet though. But you would do that to his children? Y'all would take our heads off? Let me see if I can find the description of his death. All right, so it say, look, during the Battle of Karbala, the Umayyad, this is the caliphs, this is the Sunni caliphs, the ones that they, you know, they don't consider Muawiyah a quote unquote rightful caliph though. But they did this what they follow. They follow this dude though. They follow this tradition though. Right? It says the Umayyad soldiers hesitated to initiate a direct attack against Hussein. However, he was struck in the mouth by an arrow as he went to the river to drink. He collected his blood in a cupped hand and cast towards the sky, claiming to God of his suffering. Later, he was surrounded and struck on the head by Malik ibn Nusair. The blow cut through his hooded cloak, which Hussein removed while cursing his attacker. He put a cap on his head and wrapped a turban around it to staunch the bleeding. Ibn Nusair seized the blooded cloak and retreated. Shimmer advanced with a group of foot soldiers towards Hussein, who was now prepared to fight as few people were left on his side. A young boy from Hussein's camp escaped from the tents, ran to him, tried to defend him from a sword stroke, and had his arm cut off. Ibn Sa'd approached the tents of Hussein's sister Zainab, and Hussein's sister Zainab complained to him, Umar ibn Sa'd, will Abu Abdullah, the kunya of Hussein, be killed while you stand and watch? Ibn Sa'd wept but did nothing. Hussein is said to have killed many of his attackers. So even while he was struck in the mouth with an arrow, right? Even while he was cut right through his cloak and wounded, they saying he still killed many of his attackers. So again, you know, this is another reason why I love this right here. That's why I like playing with this right here. A national grand. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Hold up, Sheik. Unshare the screen.
Oh, y'all couldn't see me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. know what I'm saying? Get down with that scimitar.
Yeah, I'm ordering mine soon.
You know that
Now
that was
listen,
a great pastime of the Moors.
I'm gonna give me one too, and a baby scimitar.
Yes, sir. And we're gonna get these. We're
oh
gonna get
really?
these. We're gonna get these. Self-defense training classes going. We're gonna learn these sword forms so we can pass them on to the babies. You know. So again, you know, this is why understanding this history is so important, man. Right? It says the Umayyad forces, however, were still unwilling to kill him, and each of them wanted to leave this to somebody else. Eventually, Shimmer shouted, "Shame on you! Why are you waiting for the man? Kill him! May your mothers be deprived of you." The Umayyad soldiers then rushed Hussein and wounded him on his hand and shoulder. He fell to the ground face down, and an attacker named Sinan ibn Anas stabbed and beheaded him. 70 or 72 people died on Hussein's side, of whom about 20 were descendants of Abu Talib, the father of Ali. This included 2 of Hussein's sons, 6 of his paternal brothers, 3 sons of Hassan, meaning his nephews, 3 sons of Jafar, more of his nephews, and 3 sons and 3 grandsons of Akil ibn Abi Talib. Right? Following the battle, his clothes were stripped and his sword, shoes, and baggage were taken. The women's jewelry and cloaks were also seized. Shimmer wanted to kill Hussein's only surviving son, Ali al-Sajjad, who had not taken part in the fighting because of illness but was prevented by Ibn Sa'd. There are reports of more than 60 wounds on Hussein's body, which was then trampled with horses as previously instructed by Ibn Ziyad. The bodies of Hussein's companions were decapitated. There were 88 dead in Ibn Sa'd's army who were buried before he left. After his departure, members of the Banu Asad tribe from the nearby village buried the headless bodies of Hussein's companions. Y'all see this? Y'all hearing this? Hussein's family, along with the heads of the dead, were sent to Ibn Ziyad, who poked Hussein's mouth with a stick and intended to kill Ali al-Sajjad, his son, but spared him after the pleas of Hussein's sister Zainab. The heads and the family were sent to Zaid, who also poked Hussein's mouth with a stick. The historian suggested that this is a duplication of the report. No one was compassionate towards the women and Ali Sajjad. One of his courtiers asked for the hand of a captive woman from Hussein's family in marriage, which resulted in a heated altercation between Yazid and Zainab. The women of Zaid's household joined the captive women in their lamentation for the dead. After a few years, the women were compensated for their belongings looted in Karbala and were sent back to Medina. The killing of the grandson of Muhammad shocked the Muslim community. The image of Yazid suffered and gave rise to sentiment that he was impious. Prior to the battle, the Muslim community was divided in 2 political factions. Nonetheless, a religious sect with distinct theological doctrines and specific set of rituals had not developed. Blah, 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 blah. Right? So, y'all hear this, right? This is how they did us. Took our heads off, sent them back to Mecca or to the ruling caliphate at the time. Just disrespectful. Right? Ali ibn Hussein, great-grandson of Muhammad, author of prayers in Sahifa, whatever this is, which is known as the Psalm of the Household of the Prophet. I might have to get that. It says he survived the Battle of Karbala because he was told not to participate due to illness. So this was this is Ali Ajad, excuse me, Sajad, and it means the consistently prostrated. So he was a heavy prayer, ornament of the worshipers, right? So on Hussein's side, this was the only again living successor out of all of his children, all of his sons and children in that family. That's devastating. Like they literally almost got rid of his whole bloodline, right? And now look how he was done. He was poisoned on the order of Caliph al-Walid the first, another caliph ordering the killing of the prophet descendant. Why would we want to be Sunnis? Why would we want to follow these people? Now, al-Walid ibn al-Malik ibn Marwan. Okay, this is Marwan. So you have Muawiyah, then you have Marwan, right? And it says, under al-Walid, his father's efforts to centralize government, impose a more Arabic and Islamic character on the state, and expand borders were continued. He heavily depended on this person, his father's powerful viceroy over the eastern half of the caliphate. During his reign, armies commissioned by that guy conquered Sind and Transaxonia in the east, while the troops of Musa ibn Nasser, right? This again, I think this was the same one that participated in the killing of Hussein, right? Chopped his head off. The governor of Ifriqiya, excuse me, or Africa, conquered the Maghrib and Hispania in the west, bringing the caliphate to its largest territorial extent. Now, again, I think by this time, Idris was already over there. Idris was one of Hassan's sons who escaped during one of the rebellions after Ali had passed, and Marwan or Muawiyah was in power. He, along with three of his other brothers, they ended up dying, and he was the only one that escaped to the Maghrib. So you see how stuff is starting to come now to Africa, and this is under Marwan that they pushing his way. But Idris is already over there. He already found in Fez, or around this time he's found in Fez, and so when we talk about the Moors of Spain and the whole conquest of Spain, it wasn't necessarily like a unified thing, right? Because that was more or less them over there. Again, our lineage through Idris and the Saadi dynasties, we was already situated in Morocco. Our Berber ancestors was already there. Some of them may have participated with them other ones and went that way into Spain and helped conquer and stuff like that. Because again, we share that bloodline, the Arab and the Berber bloodline as well. The Berber bloodline is more ancient in Africa, right? This is the ancient Canaanite bloodline. The Moabite bloodline is more connected to the Arab side, right? And the Arab bloodline. Again, this is one of the reasons why Ali had the nickname the Lion of God. You know, I think I touched on sort of that Moabite connection to these Arab people. There's also the fact that the Quraysh tribe is actually a Canaanite subtribe. The Bani Kanana are the parent tribe to the Quraysh. Matter of fact, the word Quraysh, according to some scholars, is connected to Girgashites. The Girgashites were a subgroup of the Canaanites. So the Quraysh are Girgashites, the Canaanites. So Muhammad was a Canaanite. Saying, but again, this dude had Ali ibn Hussein, the last surviving son of Hussein, grandson of Prophet Muhammad, had him murdered by his wife, had him poisoned. I think it was by his wife. Now, another one is Muhammad ibn Ali, right? Sunni and Shia sources both describe him as one of the earliest and most eminent legal scholars, teaching many students during tenure. He was poisoned by Ibrahim ibn Walid ibn Abdullah in Medina on the order of Caliph Hashim ibn al-Malik, right? The son of Marwan, the other caliph, part of the he was the 10th Umayyad caliph, born in Damascus, prominent femme, all right? His mother Aisha was a daughter of this guy, a prominent family in Quraysh. Anyway, again, another caliph having a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad killed, having him poisoned. Let's see. It says, as with the other imams, al-Bakir is regarded as a martyr in Shia belief, though there are different views about the manner of death. According to one account, he was poisoned by Caliph Hisham al-Malik, while some accounts say that he died during the reign of Hisham's successor, al-Walid II, or was poisoned by Ibrahim ibn al-Walid in his brief reign, which is also view held by these people. In yet another account, he was poisoned by his cousin, Zayd ibn al-Hassan, who placed poison in the saddle on which he sat when he failed to wrest control of the Prophet's inheritance from al-Bakir. Al-Bakir was laid to rest in a cemetery in Medina. Right? Jafar ibn Muhammad, right, established the Jafari jurisprudence and developed the theology of the 12ers. He instructed many scholars in different fields, including imams and these people in science and alchemy. Right? So he was an alchemist. Jafar ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. Right? Known, the word Sadiq is like Sadak, or righteous, or truthful. Again, he was born in Medina. So his death at 64 or 55, his death in Shia sources is attributed to poisoning at the instigation of al-Mansur, another caliph. According to after being detained, he was allowed to return to Medina, where he spent the rest of his life in hiding until he was poisoned. He was buried in cemetery, being one of the 4 imams to be buried in the cemetery. His tomb was a place of pilgrimage until 1926. It was then that Wahhabis, under the leadership of Ibn Saud, the founding king of Saudi Arabia, conquered Medina for the second time and razed all the tombs except that of the Islamic prophet. Mm, mm, mm. And see, that makes me question even why we got him on the inside of our um Moorish Holy Quran. Y'all see what he say he did. He raised all the tombs of um the prophet's descendants, except the Prophet Muhammad, who himself is buried in Medina. Look what it say here. According to the Tabatabi, upon hearing the news of his death, Al-Mansur ordered the governor of Medina to behead al-Sadiq's heir, the future imam. The governor, however, learned that al-Sadiq had chosen 4 people rather than 1 to administer his will. Al-Mansur himself, the governor, the imam's oldest surviving son, Abdullah al-Aftah, and Musa al-Kazim, his younger son. Al-Mansur's plot was thus thwarted. So you see that he was about to have his son head cut off. Right? This was him, Musa ibn Jafar, right? Leader of the Shia community during the schism of Ismailis and other branches such as Waqifis after the death of the former Imam Jafar al-Sadiq. He established a network of agents who collected khums, which is like it says in Islam, khums refer to the required religious obligation of any Muslims to pay 20% to their acquired wealth from certain sources towards specific causes. Right. So it's like a donation. In the Shia community in the Middle East and the greater whatever, he holds a high position with the Madavia. The members of these orders trace their lineage to Muhammad through him. Right. So he was imprisoned and poisoned in Baghdad, Iraq, on the orders of Caliph al-Rashid. Y'all see the pattern? Y'all notice the trend here? Right. Ali ibn Musa, made crown prince by Caliph al-Ma'mun, and famous for his discussions with both Muslim and non-Muslim religious scholars. Now, listen to this right here, right? He was made crown prince by the Caliph. Then listen, he was poisoned in Iraq on the order of the Caliph al-Ma'mun.
Islam Assistant National Grant. I got a question.
Yeah.
Now the Kali, those who are killing off the bloodline, were these pale Arabs, or family fighting against basically family fighting against family?
So probably the Umayyad, the Abbasids, they were probably getting light. I don't see this is where I gotta do the history on who the mothers of these dudes are. Al-Rashid and Al-Mansur. Because if you see right here, he looked like he pale, but they do that a lot with them. We gotta find out who their mothers were. Because their fathers was probably Arabs. They probably was dark-skinned brothers. Great-grandson of Abbas ibn al-Muttalib, right? Who, again, this was the uncle. So Ibn Abbas, this was Muhammad's uncle. So this Al-Mansur, this caliph right here he was related to Muhammad, but he wasn't a direct descendant. He was like a descendant from Muhammad's uncles. So he was like Muhammad's like second or third cousin or fourth, or he might have been like fourth cousin removed by now because he's generations down, right?
Wow.
But you know, this again, this is family though. This is family, but again, it's who is his mother's mother, you know, who the foremothers of because on the side with Ali, where we trace in Muhammad, all of their mothers was Berber women. These were all North African dark-skinned women. These were Nubians. You know what I'm saying? These was Berber women. These was in accordance with the 1740 Negro Act of South Carolina. Negroes of African Negroes, the term Negro, which is for African slaves, excuse me, the term Negro is resigned to African slaves, the ancient Berbers. So we, according to the 1740 Negro Act, South Carolina, we Negroes are the descendants of these ancient Berbers. These are the same Berber women that was marrying Ali's descendants. So these are dark-skinned Arab Moorish people, right? Descendants of Muhammad. Again, these other descendants of or relatives of Muhammad, they're not really Muhammad's descendants. These are just kin. And again, this is where the Quraysh tribe and the Meccans, these are Muhammad's family still, but these are his kinfolk though. These are like, and it's no telling. Again, we got to figure out who was their mothers, because these might have been the ones probably that were marrying. But these were the ones that eventually ended up marrying and having descendants with the kind of Central Asian looking people. This is why they light skinned now, because they started having descendants with the slaves that they was bringing in from Indo-Europe, the Indo-European slaves, and the Central Asian Hun, like the Huns, like those Hunnish looking people. Where we look like they're kind of Afghanistanians, is Uzbekistan, a lot of and probably by this time, yeah, they probably have these. So these people, Marwan and these ones, they probably very light skinned, because it was the Uzbekistanis, right? This is where you get the Hadith compilers like Bukhari, Tirmidhi, Muslim, right? These dudes was all from Uzbekistan. They look like Khabib. If y'all watch UFC fighting, you know the Muslim fighters with the beard with no mustache, the very pale ones, Khabib and them, they look like them. They're Indo-Europeans, Central Asians.
Hezbollah.
Hezbollah, yeah, Hezbollah. Little Hezbollah, that's them. You know, I ain't gonna talk about them. They got really good discipline. They're very good warriors. But genetically, they got a lot going on. But this them. So this is the side of the family that the Sunni Caliphate in them, especially the Umayyad, the Abbasids. Once you start getting into these caliphates, right? The Umayyads, the Abbasids, caliphates, and then the rest of them, then you start getting into pure European caliphates. When you get into the Seljuk, you get into the Mamluks, right? Then you get into the Ottomans, right? The Ottomans, these are European. Europeans technically. You know, if they wasn't Islamic, they'd be Christians. You know what I'm saying? They pretty much that's who they are. But good question, because that's what it is. You know, it's the same strife that has always been going on. You know, we enslave them. We be in position of power. We enslave them. Have children. The children come up. They enslave us. They part of the family now. You know what I'm saying? They got blood. They got the bloodline in them. You know what I'm saying? They can trace it back. Because our forefathers on that side was dealing with them, having children with them. Even when they went into Spain, you know, this is why they was able to overthrow us in Spain, because the Castilians, you know, Queen Isabel and Ferdinand and them, and the Aragon kingdom and all of that, they was able to use the other Moorish tribes against us. Just like what they did when Cortez and them came to the quote unquote New World and used the other tribes against the Aztec. Same thing.
Islam.
All right. Ali ibn Musa, again. Muhammad ibn Ali, the generous, the God-fearing, famous for his generosity and piety in the face of persecution by the Abbasid Caliphate. Right, so now we went from the Umayyad Caliphate to the Abbasid Caliphate. Now, the Abbasids are related to Muhammad's uncle, Ibn Abbas. So there's family again. Now look what they doing still. Poisoned by his wife, Al-Mamun's daughter. So the same one that had his father killed had him marry his daughter and then had his daughter kill his son. Y'all following this madness? This is something out of a straight movie. We could make a series, a show just based on this alone.
Like a soap opera.
It's like a soap opera. This the stuff soap operas are based on.
To add to that, I'm watching Shogun on FX. It's you know, about the samurai in the 1600s. This is exactly what's going on.
Yo, I was watching some of the clips from Shogun earlier with a dude. He was that scene where he drew out the map of the world. He divided it, and he showed him where Japan was, and he said how the Portuguese and the Spanish, was it Portuguese? The Portuguese and the Spanish divided it up, and he said he told the dude, he said, yeah, in Portugal, or the Portuguese have claimed Japan. He's like, what? And he's like, yeah, you know, they had the trade routes held secret. But we already know those trade routes was Moorish trade routes.
Yep.
I'm saying, but again, it's you see the same, even in that show, they depict the same type of thing that happens. This is why I say history repeats itself more. It's important for us to study these historical moments, especially with the, you know, that's the vision we have and the sight that we have now, knowing that we are these people. We in the thick of this whole historical drama, right? And if we notice the patterns of where our ancestors was going wrong, we can see the future and stay clear of stuff like that. You know, this
Islam.
Islam. Go ahead, Mo.
It's like they trying to, well, it's not they trying, they were destroying the order, you know, the ancient order. That's like in how they destroy the orders is by destroying the bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm getting out of this. I mean, according to everything that you demonstrating here tonight.
Islamism, and again, it's the same. It read the same way as. Let me see if I could pull him up. Right, when you look at the Aztecs, right, and I'm trying to find her. I'm looking for a specific person. She married Montezuma shortly and then married his successor. But she had Montezuma's children. And there's a group of ruling class in Mexico. They trace their lineage back to her and Montezuma, but they are very pale. because she also was married off to. She was also married off to one of Cortez's generals, and she started his bloodline too. And that's the bloodline that the ruling class, or they're not a root, they're like a noble class uh in Mexico right now. Uh what's okay, death, aftermath. Succeeded by his brother. Okay, his brother was succeeded by what's this dude's name? A successor. Oh yeah, Cuauhtemoc. Now look at him, Cuauhtemoc. This the one that because Montezuma didn't fight the Aztecs. He didn't really go to war with them. This dude right here, you see this image. He's a brother. Y'all see this picture?
Wow. Is that the one that got converted by Diego? That is that Montezuma's nephew?
Um, hold on, let me see.
Because it was one, and it was crazy because they ended up appointing him. Oh, yep, that is. I think that is him, Huey Tationi.
Uh,
And this is shortly after Montezuma's death. But in this piece, which is funny, he ended up becoming the governor under the Spanish government after his own baptismal and conversion into Catholicism, and his surname became Diego. So you just see like a whole conversion process of how they started on their Killers of the Flower Moon type stuff.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's another movie y'all got to check out, man, because you just see how colonization, or you see how these Europeans, how they move and they uproot. That had everything to do with the Osage tribe. Man, it's a good show. I recommend Moors watch that.
oh yeah, yeah. He was executed. Cortez had him executed. So you say right here, Cortez took
Uh,
Cuauhtemoc and several other indigenous nobles on his expedition to Honduras, as he feared that Cuauhtemoc could have led an insurrection in his absence. While the expedition was stopped in the Contal Maya capital of Itzamkanat, known as whatever in Nahuatl, Cortez had Cuauhtemoc executed for allegedly conspiring to kill him and other Spaniards. Number of discrepancies. It says according to Bernal Diaz, uh, the supposed plot was revealed by two men. Diaz portrays the executions as unjust and based on no evidence, and he admits to having liked Cuauhtemoc personally. He also records Cuauhtemoc giving the following speech to Cortez through his interpreter. Oh, Cortez, now I understand your false promises and the kind of death you have had in store for me, for you are killing me unjustly. May God demand justice from you, as it was taken from me when I entrusted myself to you in my city of Mexico. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for his wife.
oh, okay. Yeah, I just looked it up. That was him, but he did end up getting killed.
Okay.
Yeah, executed. Yeah.
Um, what the heck was his wife's name? Was it her, Isabel? I think it is her.
Oh nope, I got it wrong. No, that wasn't him. It was the other. It was the other one.
Oh yeah, here. I think this is it. Yeah, so this is her. So Her name is Donna Isabel Montezuma, born, whatever her name is, was a daughter of the Aztec ruler Montezuma II. Remember in the book, the Karankawa Indians, the coastal people of Texas, Montezuma is described as a Moorish king. Right? That's the same book where it says that the term Indian was substituted for the term Moorish in 15 or 16 something like that. But it says she was the consort of whoever this was and of the Aztec emperors, whoever this is, and Cuauhtemoc, the same dude. Remember when I just showed you? We just saw. So she ended up with him too, because she was married to each one. Each one of them was a successor to Montezuma. So she was just married off because, like, she was a, she. We always had a high esteem for motherhood. She was the, you know what I'm saying? The brothers could go. Gotta keep mama around though. Right. So it says after the Spanish conquest, Donna Isabel was recognized as Montezuma's legitimate heir and became one of the indigenous Mexicans granted an encomienda. Right. Among the others were her half sister Marina and Juan Sanchez, an Indian governor. Donna Isabella was married to one Tlaloc, however you say that, 2 Aztec emperors and 3 Spaniards, right? And widowed 5 times. She had a daughter out of wedlock whom she refused to recognize, Leonor Cortez Montezuma, with conquistador Hernan Cortez. So she had a daughter with Hernan Cortez out of wedlock that she didn't recognize. Her sons founded a line of Spanish nobility. The title of Duke of Montezuma de Tultengo descends from her brother and still exists. Right? Her mother was Princess Teoclaclo, and her birth name was whatever that is, translated as Lord's daughter in Nahuatl. She was Montezuma's principal wife. Her mother was Montezuma's principal wife, and thus among Montezuma's daughters, she had primacy. As a small child, she was married to whoever this was, who died in 1520. After her father was killed either by his own people or the Spanish, she was quickly married to her uncle, whatever his name is, who became emperor after Montezuma's death. He died of smallpox only 80 days later. Cuauhtemoc became emperor and married her. She was only about 11 or 12 years old at the time of her 3rd marriage. Hernan Cortez and other Spaniards entered Tenochtitlan in 1519. For several months, they lived in Montezuma's palace. At some time during their sojourn, they took the emperor hostage. The Aztecs revolted and expelled Cortez and his army. However, she was left behind in the city by the Spanish. Aztec leaders quickly married her to whoever this is, the new emperor, and after he died of smallpox to Cuauhtemoc. Cortez returned in 1521 with a large group of Spaniards and Indian allies, mostly the Tlaxcala, and attacked Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs, their numbers and morals depleted by smallpox epidemic, were defeated. Cuauhtemoc and his court attempted to flee by boat, but they were captured by the Spanish on surrendering. He asked the Spanish to respect the ladies of his court, including his young wife. Cortez executed him, and she was widowed for the 3rd time. She converted to Christianity and dynastic union to Spain. So again, she converted She had a child from Cortez, and then she got modern day descendants, right? It says the Maraville line of Spanish nobility began with Isabel's son, Juan de Andrada. Her sons Pedro and Gonzalo Cano became prominent citizens of Mexico City. Her son, Juan Cano Montezuma, married into prominent family of the whoever this is in Spain. Isabel's last husband, Juan Cano, died in Seville in 1572. The mestizo lineage that originates on Isabel and her sister branched out through Spanish nobility. Since converted native nobility were considered Spanish nobility by the Spaniards, the blood of Aztec nobility was highly respected, and the chance of intermixing with their lineage was treasured. Isabel and Leonora's descendants quickly intermarried with their most important families of whatever that is, one of the richest areas of Spain at the time. It is estimated that Isabel has 2,000 descendants today in Spain alone. The claims to nobility in the court of Marvel, the court of that, the Duke of whatever it is, the Duke of that, and the Duke of Montezuma come directly from her and her sister. Isabel is the ancestress of Rosario Nadal. So this lady right here, she's pale. The wife of whoever this is, you see this guy, pale. Carlos Vince James, da 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 da. The rest of these people. The Crown Prince of Yugoslavia. Right? Husband of Princess da, 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 Duchess, the former wife. Also his wife. But y'all see how they tied that bloodline on that side to the Spaniard Europeans. Now they're the nobility. Now, if you look at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the South, and if you look at the Middle East and everything, you see these pale Arabs. It's the same noble family line over there. The Prophet Muhammad represent that line on that side. Right now, don't forget that too. We had trade and transportation that was going from Africa to the Americas prior to these Europeans in 1492 coming and tying this bloodline together on their side. Right, Abu Bakr II, brother of Mansa Musa in 1311 AD, according to uh, um, uh, the historian Al-Umari, he traveled to the Americas with 2,500 ships with nothing but men. These were Moors. Now, if he made that voyage during his time, who's to say that there weren't other Moors and even descendants of the Prophet Muhammad that was in Morocco that might have made that voyage too over to the Americas? These same conquistadors said that when they arrived in the Americas, they seen what looked like they recognized as mosques. And the people were complexion of Ethiopians, stuff like this, dark skin. Not to say that all natives that was here was dark skin, because there was natives that were not. You know, they was more that Mongolian phenotype, which I believe that, in my opinion, were the ones that allied with the Spaniards, particularly the European Spaniards, because there was probably Moorish Spaniards too. But the European Spaniards that came, and when you seen the Moorish Spaniards, they was wearing European clothes anyway, so it's like they might have been European. But these are the ones that allied with them against the Aztecs, who were descendants of the Mayans. And then when you look at the Mayans and the Aztec murals and paintings, these were the dark-skinned natives down there. Right, so So again, I mean, if y'all just study the, just the rest of the lineage of Muhammad, again, they always all the Shia imams and descendants of Muhammad was poisoned or murdered, right? Like they was either killed or poisoned. So like Muhammad ibn Ali poisoned by his wife, who was Mamun's daughter, again, who he was a caliph as well. Al-Mutaz, he poisoned Muhammad ibn Ali's son, Ali ibn Muhammad, right, in Iraq. And then his son, Hassan ibn Ali, was poisoned as well by the order of the Caliph Mutamid in Iraq as well. And they was all really in Iraq because they was being kept there. They was being imprisoned or held against their will in Iraq so they could be monitored. Again, when you read through the history of the descendants, you'll definitely find more historical points to these different things. And again, if we just follow the like line or lineage back, like it all coincides and comes together. Like it was the fall of this Moorish Islamic caliphate that led to the conquest of another Moorish civilization over here in the West by these same Spanish Christian Europeans, right? Using the same tactics that they had used against the Moors. Now, again, these people have been fighting against the Moors for 700 years. So once they came to the Americas and seen these unarmed natives, it was like a walk in the park, like a picnic for them.